Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So you guys know what I do for a living. I teach at a community college, and I often, every time I interact with the younger generation, I always feel like I was born in the wrong generation. I tend to identify a lot better with Gen Z and even earlier generations. And the way I know this is that I uh, I I mingle very well with them. It helps that I look very young for my age. I could pass for a student there, and I sometimes join these clubs and events. One day, I had overheard a bunch of students in another club talking about another event that they were thinking about, and they wanted to make sure that everybody would be okay with the food there, either food allergies or anybody had any religious objections because it was really smelly food or something like that. I didn't hear the entire details of all of that, but I'm like, really? This is something that would never fly in my generation. If I wanted to go to an event, especially 10 years ago, that was full of people my generation, there's no way I could insist on certain foods not being there, right? I would just have to social distance from. In fact, 2 nights ago, I had a very big upset because I was just having a good conversation, and suddenly I was at a friend's house, and suddenly pizza arrives, and I had to kind of social distance. I have eczema; I got to keep away from milk products, right? And I had to social distance away from them. But you know what? It wasn't the end of the world because when I explained why I had to social distance from them, there wasn't a whole lot of blank stares and all that. Yes, they needed their pizza more than they needed me, but at the same time, they needed me too, right? And actually, I took that as an opportunity when I social distanced away from the other people at the party, and I explained, and these people still had to dig into their pizza, and I could even tell one person. It was a guy a little bit younger than me. He was 25 years old, I want to say. He was curious about my computer AI programming for the games. I noticed he was trying to shove his pizza down his throat as fast as he could because he wanted to get back to my conversation about the AI. And I used it as an opportunity to remind myself about the dangers of food addiction. I didn't tell him that, obviously, but I used it as an opportunity to tell myself, "Hey, look at how badly this guy's addicted to his pizza. He needs it, but he also wants to get it done with to come back to the AI. Had I been him, even if my favorite food came out, I probably still want to talk about AI first, right? Nowadays, I have much more control about my food, so I used it as an opportunity to remind myself about what food addiction is, how far I've come from it, and all that. But younger generation people would never behave like that, right? I was at another event at the college campus with younger people. These are 20 early 20s, and I had been talking about how I had been really sleep deprived the night before writing a AI for it. No, this was with an art project. How I had been up all night pouring bismuth, and how I'm in such a good mood today because mild sleep deprivation usually does my mental health quite a number of wonders. And I was telling my friends how, unfortunately, it doesn't last forever. Eventually, it's kind of like drinking, right? It feels good while you're doing it, but eventually you get a hangover, right? And all these people who are in their early 20s say, "Oh God, we would never touch drinking," right? It was like a foreign concept to them, and I can only imagine how it would have been like as a kid if I wasn't surrounded by drinking and all the rowdiness that goes along with it. And so I had a friend who got in trouble with drinking. He almost got kicked out of school. He was working with some chemistry labs and he stole a bottle of ethanol to take home to drink. And so, long story short, he got sick from that, had to be hospitalized, and thus it came to light that he stole ethanol from the chemistry department, and he almost got expelled from school over that. And so this generation doesn't get itself involved in that, and it's just so wonderful. Unfortunately, I was born in the wrong generation, and that's why I need to take good care of my body so that I can mingle with Gen Z. Right? Imagine 10 years from now, I'm still in my 20s physically, and now I can really hang around Gen Z without too much of a. Right now, I can kind of do it, but it gets a little. People think I have bad intentions and all that, right? In 10 years' time, it will be no big deal, right? But another thing about keeping my body young is that if you look at historical stock market charts, right, especially if you look at it in relation to real terms, right, the Dow to gold ratio has a cycle that goes up and down every 50 or so years. And that's because every two generations we have a really sparse generation. We have the baby boomers, we had Gen X, we had Gen Y, which is sometimes called the echo boomers, and then Gen Z is down here. So if I keep my body young, and instead of retiring with the rest of my generation, I retire at the same time as Gen Z. That will be the equivalent of Gen X retiring, right? Remember when Social Security was really strong? It had a surplus, the dot com bubble, the real estate bubble. Imagine you were drawing down your retirement during that time, right? If I keep my body young and retire with Gen Z, it will be just like that. And I'll be able to hang around people who don't drink, who won't be stealing alcohol from the chemistry department, who won't be rowdy, and who will be very accepting of people of different backgrounds, right? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.